their dividend pay based on that percentage, the CFO might manipulate the books so that the money doesn't go there, but gets put in somebody else's pocket, of course, of elaborate ruse to steal the money for themselves. And I guess that's probably what you're saying. And Absolutely, it depends John. Too. I guess it depends on whether or not the Queen has reliable CFO people in there that can keep the money coming to her, as opposed to maybe some of us who have so little of a huge company that we can't watch or be keeping the CFO responsible to report to us the truth. So we might not, really, it's not, although I got to tell you, when I was an undergrad, my undergrad degree was business, institutions and policy. So I had to take some accounting. So I took intro, intermediate. When I got the cost accounting, the bottom line seemed to be, just how to move the money around. But really, when it all boils down, either you've got money or it's gone. One of the two. Either the money's been stolen, spent, misapplied, lost, put under a mattress, and it's not available for the company or whoever it's supposed to be for, or you do have it. Now, what's more common? I got to ask this question since this is your area. Is it more common for these guys that are crooked to report more money than really is there, or do they hide money so they can steal it? Which one's happening most often, or do you know?
Yeah, I can answer that very well, because the main concept behind everything is, of course, insider trading and stock exchange listings on the public exchange. I mean, that's the whole story. What they try to do is to keep the price of the stock very high, so that they can earn money, steal money, by selling their own stocks while the price is still high, while they in fact know that the level of this price is totally inflated. So they're inflating most of the time in order to make real money, or to get it money from other people that have worked hard. They inflate and give a false value to their company, and then they sell it off real quick. Exactly. That's the main story. It's all varieties of insider trading. They know. And they get complicit insiders where somebody says, something's going to have a, what do they call it?
IPO, is it? Initial public offering, or whatever they call it. And they say, they're going public. They're going public. Whether they really know anything about that company being solid, they're going to ride it to the top and sell too, is what they're thinking.
John, it's all one big criminal conspiration, because in many cases, even before a company does its IPO, before it's going public, the scheme to reap the company is already there. That means that the only reason for many companies to go public in the first place is that the management is already in the position to immediately steal the money which is not there from the shareholders. There are many examples of this. There are many examples of this. For instance,
I was going to ask that. Go ahead.
I don't know if you know the company Quest. It's a very big American company in telecommunications. They did exactly this thing. It was a total criminal company. They made a kind of joint venture with a very big Dutch telecom company. They created a joint venture. They listed it in the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. And the only reason the Quest people made this scheme was to sell their shares immediately. They were very high. It was in the high time of the dot-com bubble. And then they just blew up the whole thing to steal the money from the Dutch people. I mean, that was their idea, and take it back to the United States. of course, to the detrimental disadvantage of the Dutch investors. But that's just one example of how this works. But also in the United States, there are many examples in every country. I mean, this is really the biggest criminal exposure ever in corporate life. And what my book is about is that the accounting people, from these KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they are in the middle of this criminal gang. And why do I think this is so important? Because, John, I am even this cynical that I say when the management of companies, when the corporate people themselves, the directors, the executives are criminals, okay. I mean, everybody knows they're criminals. I mean, that's no news for me. I mean, that's a normal.
It's kind of like a large law firm, only they're public accountants, CPA firms.
Yeah, exactly, John. Because when the executives are criminals, okay, let them be criminals. I don't care. But what I, as a journalist, think is interesting is that those accountants, because they have this special position protected by law to control those criminals. You know what I mean? They are the people like to police the books of the companies. They have the responsibilities, the knowledge. I mean, they come from Ivy League universities like Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and everything. They studied like 10 years in corporate accounting. They should know. They should know. But they don't know. I mean, they do know, but they don't want to know. I mean, this is really the biggest scandal. And that's what my book is about how these people, not only defraud the public trust, but also defraud everyone. I mean, and this is, of course, but the biggest thing. But still, these companies I mentioned, they still, behave as if they are invulnerable, as if they are, sometimes they are sanctioned, by some criminal court or by the SEC or by some civil action, like they have to pay, for instance, amounts like $300 billion. They have to pay to the stakeholders, And then
it sounds like to me there's no spotlight ever been turned on them.
And then they give this press release. They say, we pay this. And then there's always the same diction. They say, we pay this without denying or admitting any guilt. You know what I mean? Are we still there?
You're still there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
The United. I'm sorry about that. I had you muted and I didn't turn it back on. But
what I was saying was that these companies, they pay this huge amount of settlements, some in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they always use this phrase: "We pay this money without admitting or denying any guilt."
Any guilt, yeah.
Yeah, that's always what they say.
That similar operation goes on with the government, or Fannie Mae with the pump and dump schemes of the real estate market. They inflate it on purpose. It's kind of like going to a different track or going to a location and taking your own money, betting on a horse that's yours, and making the odds make it very valuable, and then sell it while it's real hot. That horse isn't worth it. They've inflated it. And there's, I imagine, all kinds of schemes, but primarily we're supposed to have accountants actually tracking the facts. And what you're saying is they're cooking the books.
That's right, John. And this is, of course, a very old concept because, in the United States of America, in the 1800s, they were building these railroads. You know what they did?
Right.
They went to Europe, to London. It was like in 1860, 1870. And they went to the people of London and they said, you have to buy shares in this railroad company. They're buying this railroad from New York to San Diego or Los Angeles. It's very special. It will make heaps of money. Like this,
Right.
And then, of course, the people of London, they bought all those stocks. Of course, there was never built any railroad because, or only like 2 miles or something like this, This happens all the time.
It happens everywhere. You could have a county in one of the states in America and they have these commissions that take care of the roads.